this is Dr. Jester speaking. So, what do you think of this intro? No? Anyway, I did some improvements to my recordings and area in general, even though it's boiling hot right now, but I can't leave my window open because it will fuck up my chroma key background. See? Now you can see me even bigger and looking better too. You know, now you can get out the fat goodness on your life. So, there have been years and years where I've argued that the liberal media or the left or out left have been quite constantly peddling anti-GMO pseudoscience. That most of their websites peddling it, at least here in this side of the world, or on the western side, have been liberal media peddling it. So, and that usually comes from, guess what? From Russia. Russia Today or Sputnik. Why? Because Russia has outlawed GMOs, so the production and, well, production in itself is deficient compared to America, which has GMOs, so their yield is much bigger. That's why Russia has released constant anti-GMO propaganda, which is why, for example, PETA or other rights activists or hippies in general, let's call them hippies, start peddling that anti-GMO. For example, Huffington Post and CNN have shared quite a few of anti-GMOs. That's because they fall for the Russian propaganda, which is that GMOs are safe, and Russian propaganda says it's not. Thus, they keep sharing it. So, recently came out a study confirming that gut feeling I was having before. So, as you can see, almost all anti-GMO articles in the US are clickbait promoted by Russian propaganda sites. And this is a good example of what it's going to, what am I going to show, proving that I was right, that my feeling or that gut feeling that constantly it was the out left or the liberal media peddling this type of pseudoscience. And it's good to feel vindicated. It's really good to be vindicated at last. At Iowa State University Crop Bioengineering Center's annual meeting, a team of scholars showed, oh, I cut the picture, oh, well, doesn't matter. The research validating that the scientific community has long suspected. Exactly, I suspected it, I felt it, I knew there was something going on, that some anti-GMO groups are either sending information to Russian propaganda sites to assist in their efforts to undermine American agricultural dominance, or they are acting as what Joseph Stalin called useful idiots by promoting concerns about America's food supply. And this is something that I've been trying to tell them, but there are some on the left that are really stubborn, and this is a good example, the useful idiot. Since 90% of Iowa farmers grow corn and soybeans genetically engineered to tolerate herbicides and pesticides better, meaning fewer chemicals are used or needed, so Iowa State University scholars Dr. Caroline Lawrence-Dill and Dr. Sean Darius sought to find out why anti-GMO claims persist. What they found was shocking, given Russia's prominence in worry about political manipulation of American election. The results showed that Russia Today, recently rebranded as RT.com, considered a propaganda site, accounted for 34% of GMO-related articles. Along with Sputnik, they carried more GMO-related articles than CNN, Fox, Breitbart, MSNBC, and the most anti-GMO sites in the US, Huffington Post, combined. The difference was that the Russian site's coverage was uniformly negative. For example, what do abortions related to worries about the Zika virus have to do with GMOs? Nothing. But Russia Today still linked them, and their only source was other clickbait claims on social media. This is what I've been trying to say. They fall for this because they keep linking it in every single person that the liberal left, or even the people who fight anti-GMO pseudoscience, they themselves try to deny the connection that the anti-GMO belief has on the left. They try to deny it completely, and this is again vindication. Because, for example, Huffington Post is one of the researched articles, the research that they have done. In this one in particular, Huffington Post was the biggest one on the western side. Yeah. Huffington Post was the biggest one in the western world, and for Russian Today and Sputnik, they obviously overtook. Breitbart, there was a lot of false positives as I analyzed the data. It's difficult to take a position, but they had a bit more pro-GMOs than anti. MSNBC and CNN were a disaster. Moving on. As Donald Eller, writing Des Moines Register, noted, Russian propaganda sites are not alone in promoting concern, despite the consensus from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and every worldwide body affirming their safety. It is safe. You're not going to grow an extra arm by consuming GMOs. Celebrity physician Dr. Oz, activist organizations such as the Center for Food Safety, and industry trade groups like Organic Consumers Association also routinely promote fear and doubt about the American food supply. This is another problem. The organic lobby keeps using those links, that pseudoscience, to justify them trying to peddle organic, a much more expensive and much more damaging to the environment and much more toxic alternative than the GMOs. Yes, organic uses pesticides and they use it a lot, but compared to the GMO uses considerably less because it's already built in some of the plants. And that built in doesn't mean that you're going to die or develop something wrong. It just means that the creature that it was targeted to, it's going to die, not you. That means, for example, the best analogy that I can come up with at this moment, and probably the simplest one and the easily understandable one, think of as a plug. You own a British, let's suppose an Xbox One. You own an Xbox One from Britain, and you have a plug that is different. And then you have the American plug system. The socket is different, so you can't actually connect the Xbox One to the American plug without a converter. And think of the Xbox One in this case as the pesticide and you as the American socket. So what affects a caterpillar or some other plague will not affect you. And besides, quantity means the poison. That means if you drink too much water, you will die. If you eat too much salt, you will die. In fact, the glyphosate is less toxic than salt. Food for thought, huh? These groups' fears are simply misplaced or perhaps financially motivated, but the reason Russia Today and Sputnik are involved has nothing to do with concern about health. Food is Russia's second largest export, second to only oil and gas, which the Obama administration's Director of National Intelligence found was promoting concerns about hydraulic fracturing of natural gas, fracking, using offshore foundations to funnel money to environmental groups. This is another thing too. They are very anti-fracking, and fracking is safe. There is nothing that has ever come out to say that fracking is dangerous. Every single research paper you can actually find, there's some sort of problem on the research paper, an extreme bias, extreme funding, or bad calculations, bad data, or the confusion between fracking itself, the extraction of the gas, of the natural gas, between the deposit of water, of used water from other mining ventures. That also causes a lot of confusion between on people. And for example, it is even safer to deposit that used water, which is reused quite a few times before it gets discarded in fracking. It's safer to be deposited underground. It will not reach the water reservoirs underground, or anything will not reach the rivers, nothing like that. It's completely and utterly safe. It's even safer than depositing or discarding it on, say, on a topsoil reservoir or on a lake somewhere, because that water will eventually leak or go to a nearby river or leak down to water reservoirs underground. Or even then, they might be subject to accidents. For example, there's a case in Brazil that this actually happened. A dam holding contaminated water from a mining operation broke and destroyed an entire city, killing dozens and dozens of people, and the city still has not been rebuilt. That's the problem. You have to know science, and pseudoscience will lead to problems. Going on, Russia is able to exert more influence in Europe and elsewhere if their largest competitor in those two areas is penalized. America is being penalized for this. What they can't accomplish in the free market, they accomplish with legislative fiat. If they can get enough of public mobilized to get politicians to ignore the science and go with emotions. See, the left is full of fifis too, and the right too, but the left seems to be moved completely and entirely by fifis. And it works. Nearly half of Americans still believe the science behind genetic engineering remains unsettled, despite decades of safety studies showing, like I said, they studies, meta-studies, and meta-analysis, everything showing that it's completely safe. People are completely insane in believing that GMOs are bad or fracking is bad. Calm down. The science is there. There have been decades of research. Everything has been done and redone and recalculated, and everything there it shows safety. So relax and enjoy a better life and a better earth, because natural gas provided from fracking is actually cleaner and safer to the environment than, say, oil or other forms of extraction. So calm down, enjoy science, and live your life. Oh, before I say bye, don't forget to dislike this video, to subscribe, or to press the little bell button for the notifications when a new video is submitted. You know why? Because I'm a groveling idiot and I will beg for your subscription.